It's just I say it all the time. Like we live in really interesting times when it comes to like information and opinions and like
Yeah.
self perception and self worth and like how valuable you are and just kids who, you know, if they don't get the certain amount of likes, that photo comes down, or if
Yep.
their social interaction isn't on point, and it's like you got kids who I did this really interesting thing this year where I tried to get thousands of kids to delete all of their social media for 30 days.
Yep.
I call it a digital detox.
Yep.
And the results were unbelievable. Like kids who basically were like, screw you, there's no way I could do it. Kids tried to tell me, well, how would I ever talk to my friends then if I didn't have Snapchat? Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, you know, like it was unreal. But the kids who actually did it and unplugged had this sense of like, oh my God, like
Yeah.
I made it, I'm okay. And all of that stuff that I used to worry about didn't matter. Oh, and I got like, I worked out way more, or I read more, or I got my
Yeah.
homework done on time, or I finally got some sleep. And I think
I
there's
showered.
like, totally, exactly. Yeah.
Like,
And I didn't
oh,
have to tell
shit.
everybody about it.
Yeah. It's funny. There's an app that because I was trying to figure that out for myself, right? Because I feel like for me, because a lot of my work stuff is social media, it's like you're kind of checking. There's just such a fine line, right? Where like you're checking if people are engaging in your new jeans and in blah, blah, blah. But like at the same time, you're kind of drifting into just checking social media.
Yep.
And so at first I started by having a separate phone, which was only social media and just like mess around stuff. And then my other phone was just text, email, phone. And so I'd be very conscious of when I was grabbing the waste of time phone and when I wasn't, right?
That's smart, actually.
And so it was great. It was massively successful, whatever. The problem was it just kind of became a bit of an annoyance, and I felt like I should have better self-control than that. So I went back to one phone, but now I have an app called Moment that tracks how long you're on your phone every day and what apps you're on your phone.
Right.
And it's mind-blowing. I mean, even for me, it's fucking mind-blowing.
Right.
When I look at, like, at the end of the day, I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm one of them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a 15-year-old. And, like, I have reminders that tell me when I went, my daily limit's 3 hours, and it tells me when I went over 3 hours and whatever. But
what's that app called again?
Moment.
You
should get it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's really, even if you're a pretty good, disciplined person, it's still interesting to see exactly where the time is being spent.
No doubt.
What percentage of your time, you know?
I'm working on a book right now, and one of the chapters is, I'm calling it 20,000 hours. Have you ever heard that like 10,000 hours Malcolm Gladwell thing? I'm sure if Kevion in his life coaching class is going to talk a lot about that.
100%. We'll get there.
You'll get to it.
Less than 3.
That's 3. Yeah. But so there's this idea that if you spend 10,000 hours at something, you're an expert. And so I'm working with all these high school kids and college kids. So I wanted to see like if all the social media phone use thing, like where it really adds up. The average amount of time a kid spends on their screen a day is 5.5 hours. If you start as a 6th grader all the way until the day you graduate college, which is 11 years, you will have scrolled, posted, snapped, taken photos, done all that for 20,000 hours, which means by the time you were a 6th grader to graduating college, you could have been an expert in 2 things.
You could have been fucking Mozart.
Think about what you could be, literally where you could be. But we have literally substituted like scrolling and consuming for like the creation process.
Yeah.
And so one of the chapters I'm writing about is like, what would it look like if you just cut that in half, told yourself I couldn't get on my phone for 2.5 hours until I did this for 2.5 hours. And I'm talking like, imagine if a kid loved to skate and he skated for 2.5 hours instead of scrolled. You will love an instrument. You love to read. You love to work out.
And you make them pick a thing to replace it, right?
Yeah, totally. Imagine if we would. Like, where would we be, even in our careers professionally, if we spent 2.5 hours? You'd be better off spending 2.5 hours researching the next, like, what's coming out in e-commerce or whatever.
Anything.
Just the trolling and scrolling. And like, it's crazy.
It's so easy to do.
But 20,000 hours by the time they would have gotten a college degree. And so they're hopping into the workforce with 20,000 hours of like scrolling under their belt. And it's like, I just want people to see it, you know, and I don't know that I have a solution, and I'm not trying to say like, social media is the worst thing ever. Like, I've built a brand off of it. I get booked to speak because of it. I get paid to do it too. I mean, we both get how that works, but like, it really is mind blowing that like the average kid with 800 followers is going to drop 20,000 hours into that bucket of their time.